Well, a horse has a white blaze on his forehead. I mean, there are thousands of different. If you look up blaze in a dictionary, I mean, they could write a whole book about what a blaze is.
This is episode 5 in Conversations with Cynthia. This is part 2 discussing the 9 clues of the poem. This video is about the blaze.
One of the things that I used to do when I was a kid, I hiked a lot into rivers and lakes, a place to fish, but just for the sake of hiking. And when I would come to a kind of a remote place, I would move over under a tree by a bluff or something and sit down and tell myself that I'm the first human being that was ever in this spot.
Okay, I'm going to start with some of the most well-known quotes from Forrest in chronological order. Also, a quick clarification before moving on. Here is the quote about water high that I was looking for. It was Margie Goldsmith who wrote, basically, Forrest said, "And what about water high? Does it mean deep or higher than normal?" This article was written in January of 2014. Forrest said, "A horse can have a blaze on its forehead. A blaze can be scraped on a tree to mark one's way. A blaze can mean a flame or a scar on a rock, which tends to be one of my favorites." In May 2014, the question on Jenny's site was, "Is the blaze one single object?" Forrest answered in a word, yes. In September 2014, Forrest said this, "While it's not impossible to remove the blaze, it isn't feasible to try, and I am certain it's still there." In this 2015 article, the writer asked Forrest whether the clues in the poem will also withstand the test of time. Forrest answered, "I am guessing the clues will stand for centuries. That was one of my basic premises, but the treasure chest will fall victim to geological phenomena just like everything else." And the last Fenn quote I'm going to use came in 2016 when Forrest was asked, "Which direction does the blaze face? North, south, east, or west?" He answered, "I didn't take a radio off of the blaze, Foxy. I'm thinking it may not be any of those directions." F. What the hell? Before I discuss Jack's comments regarding the blaze, here are a few excerpts from a 2019 interview I did with Forrest at his home.
The place where that treasure chest is hidden is in an isolated area.
Can the sun shine on the treasure's location for the majority of the day?
The location where the treasure is hidden is in the sun a good part of the day, yeah.
What I want to add here is that after the interview was over, Forrest continued to speak candidly to me. He asked me to turn my phone off and watched my phone as it powered down. It was then he told me the location is in the sun, but the treasure chest itself isn't. When I published this entire interview on YouTube in January 2020, the first thing Forrest said to me when we met for lunch the next month was, "I know I'm supposed to yell at you for something, but I can't remember what. Don't even try to remember what it is because I can't remember." Of course, my mind raced trying to remember what I said in a YouTube video that I wasn't supposed to share. I knew it was either this or when he asked me if my solve takes me to a 12-inch by 12-inch spot. I think he meant the one I just shared.
The treasure is hidden where a person would not normally go. I guess you could call that an isolated location, yeah.
To recap, we know the treasure chest was hidden in an isolated area where a person would not normally go. The location was in the sun, but the chest itself was not. Next, I want to mention what Jack has said about the blaze. He was in a section of Forrest when he searched for the blaze. He figured out what the blaze was, helped by logic, his experience on the ground at the location, and a hint in the book. As he searched for the blaze, he was covered in scratches and pine pitch and sat on a downed tree. He couldn't find the blaze he was looking for, so he had to imagine how the blaze was damaged using his knowledge about the location and try to find that. Jack used a methodical approach out in the woods to find the blaze, likely a GPS to record his tracks. Once again, he reiterates it took a slow and methodical effort on the ground to find. The blaze had to be findable, but not obvious. Both the blaze and the treasure were out in the elements. The blaze was the clue most susceptible to damage. The natural damage the blaze suffered occurred suddenly. Here Jack states, the blaze is too damaged to be easily read as the blaze at this point in time without the treasure still sitting in the nook beneath it. But I don't think many realize that was part of the design. Someone asked Jack if he could disclose what the blaze was. Jack answered, that could imperil the location if it ever becomes known. And once again, Jack says there is a hint in the book. Here Jack mentions the chest was left on the ground, but not level ground. It was left in a nook where it would likely sink some over time due to the weight, and dirt and weeds would blow in around it, and pine needles and other forest debris would fall on top of it. Eventually, the chest was likely going to be fully buried. Jack confirmed the chest was covered by forest debris, but he could tell something was there, so he swiped the debris away and saw the top of the chest. Someone asked what Forrest said about the damaged blaze, and he thought it was a possibility, but was surprised it happened so early in the chase. And one final reminder, Jack confirmed that the whole time he searched for the blaze and treasure in the forest, he did not step foot on a human trail. There were no man-made trails in the vicinity, but there were some game trails. Here's an email Forrest sent me regarding the trail that runs from Boundary Street through the woods to Barnes Hole on the Madison. That trail wasn't there when I was spending summers in West. Several times I walked at compass heading from Fenn to the river and back. I didn't go to fish, I just wanted to do it alone and for the fun of it. F. Next, I'm going to show various examples of a pine forest with various types of possible blazes. First is a beautiful forest in Wyoming with stumps scattered around. Is the hint in the book this illustration of the man with the axe? This is a section of forest from the 1988 fire and the same forest as you get closer to Grebe Lake. Is the hint of the blaze in the book where Forrest and Donnie burned the map of the forest? Next is a hillside near Sloot Creek with pine trees and large boulders. Here is a different forest of pine trees with giant boulders everywhere. This place was fun to play around in. Was this picture of Skippy holding a rock with a river and pine trees in the background an example of what the blaze was? And last but not least, here's a picture of a crazy searcher in a red bandana, for Pete's sake, making a video of a bison getting ready to cross the Nez Perce Creek and kick his ass. There are also boulders along the tree line, as well as a bluff not far from here. Is the hint of the blaze in the book when Forrest talked about the bluff and the fireball? I seriously doubt it. This concludes my presentation of the blaze. Please leave a comment with other possible hints in the book what the blaze was. Thank you. Till next time, be safe.